There are three types of organizations or businesses that normally operating budgets are made for. The first of these being nonprofit, the next being merchanting, and the last being service-based. So all of these have different components and different information that is plugged in for each one. For example, budget preparation for a merchanting company is similar to budgeting for manufacturing companies. So a merchanting company will not have a production budget or direct material budget, nor they'll have labor budgets or overhead budgets. But the thing that they will have is material-based budget. You need to know exactly how much material you have and how much you need to make. So things like that are very important when considering merchanting companies. The next would be nonprofit. So nonprofit organization is one that doesn't make money on the service that it does. For example, I work with a nonprofit called Defined with Purpose. And in Defined with Purpose, we help pay for the legal information or the legal fees of kids, women, or men, or young boys who have experienced sexual abuse. And we go to court with these people and we pay for their legal fees. But we don't profit off of anything that we provide for them. They're such as counseling, paying for their legal fees, trials, and things like that. We don't profit off any of those things. But what we do profit off of is we get donations, monthly donations. We have donor meetings, donor luncheons, things such as that. And what's important for a type of organization such as that one would be budgeting for what you know you're going to receive. So most of the time, you know what you're going to receive monthly based off donations because you have your past records to look over. And you know most of the time how many donations you're going to receive from different people. So if you know that, and you know how many grants you're going to receive from the government, you can budget accordingly to how many cases you can take on based on that number you know you're going to receive. But this can be difficult sometimes because sometimes donations and grants can be kind of inconsistent and they can change. So that's what makes budgeting for a nonprofit a little bit more difficult than a for-profit organization because there's not always that guarantee that money will just come from just selling a product. And the final one would be service-based. Now, service-based is also similar to nonprofit where you don't really have that product to sell and you don't have that guaranteed per unit income. You have a service base. So in service base, you have to count most of the time. Let's say we'll use the example of construction. And my dad, he owns a construction company and I work with him and I work closely with his, when we calculate how much things are going to cost and budgeting and things like that. So in that type of industry, you don't have a per unit type of income. It's more based on what job you're taking, how much that job will cost you, and the cost of labor and equipment. So you can budget for those things because most of the time labor and equipment is at a flat rate. And income is based on the type of job, the square footage of the job, and the difficulty of the job. Now, those things are difficult to budget, but it's very easy and good to budget since you know how much you're going to charge for a job most of the time based on the difficulty of the job. And it's also very good because the amount of labor is also pretty standard and usually runs about the same.